What happened on the final day of filming has left fans speechless. Reports are pouring in that the Love and Hip Hop set was completely destroyed after the most explosive fight in the franchise's history. It all started with a tense argument between Mendeecees and Kirk Frost that quickly spiraled out of control. Yandy Smith tried to step in, but Rashida wasn't having it. She clapped back with accusations no one saw coming, and that's when things got physical. Young Jock was seen trying to calm everyone down, but even he couldn't stop what was unfolding. Furniture was flipped, cameras were knocked over, and the production crew had to shut everything down immediately. Sources say Mona Scott was on site, screaming at the cast to stop, but it was already too late. What was supposed to be a celebratory rap turned into pure chaos, with shattered equipment, bruised egos, and rumors of lawsuits flying. Fans are now demanding to know the truth. Why did everything explode? What secrets were exposed that pushed the cast to their limits? And why is the network staying so quiet? One thing's for sure, this isn't the end. It's only the beginning of the most shocking love and hip-hop scandal yet. It all started innocently enough. The final day of shooting for Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta was supposed to be a celebration. The cast had made it through another season. The drama had reached its peak, and everyone was looking forward to winding down and taking a break. But no one was prepared for what would go down that day. It began with a casual conversation between Mendeecees and Kirk Frost, two men whose rivalry had been brewing for months. The tension between them had been simmering, but it was supposed to be settled in front of the cameras for a big, dramatic finale. What no one expected was the sheer intensity of the argument that would unfold. The fight escalated quickly. It started with a simple disagreement over a comment Mendeecees made about Kirk's parenting. Kirk, who had never been one to back down, fired back with a comment about Mendeecees' past mistakes, implying that he wasn't in any position to judge. That's when things took a turn. Mendeecees, already on edge from the pressure of the season, snapped. His face turned red with anger, and he lunged toward Kirk, pushing him with all his might. Cameras caught the moment, but what followed was even more shocking. Yandy Smith, Mendeecees' wife, who had been trying to maintain some peace for weeks, jumped in to stop her husband. But her efforts were futile. She shouted at Mendeecees, "This isn't the time, babe. Stop it." But Mendeecees wasn't listening. The situation was spiraling out of control. Rashida, always the voice of reason, tried to intervene as well, but she only made things worse. She called out to Kirk, "Don't let him do this. Show some self-control." But Kirk, now enraged, snapped back at her, "Don't tell me what to do." The chaos that followed was a blur of insults and accusations. Mendeecees and Kirk were shouting at each other, their faces inches apart, while Yandy and Rashida tried to pull them apart. But it was clear that this wasn't just a petty disagreement anymore. This was personal. Emotions ran high, and no one seemed to know how to de-escalate the situation. The crew was visibly shaken, unsure of how to handle the intensity of the confrontation. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the set. The scene that followed was even more shocking than the argument. Kirk, in a fit of rage, shoved a nearby prop table, sending it crashing to the ground. It didn't stop there. Mendeecees, too, was seeing red. He knocked over a set piece, sending a mirror flying across the room. The entire set looked like a war zone. Fans watching from the sidelines were in shock. No one had ever seen Love and Hip Hop like this before. The drama had always been intense, but this was something entirely different. Young Jock, who had been trying to keep a low profile during the season, suddenly stepped in. He walked up to Mendeecees and Kirk, trying to put a hand on each of their shoulders in an attempt to calm them down. But the situation had gone too far. Mendeecees pushed him away, telling him to stay out of it. "This is between me and Kirk," he shouted. The crew didn't know what to do, and the producers scrambled to figure out how to stop the madness. It was clear that this was no longer about the show. It was real, raw, personal. In the midst of all this chaos, Mona Scott, the mastermind behind the entire franchise, was reportedly on set. Eyewitnesses claimed that she was seen running around, yelling at the cast and crew to get it together. "This isn't what we planned. Get it under control," she allegedly screamed. But the damage had already been done. The set was destroyed, the cast was divided, and what should have been a moment of closure had turned into a full-scale meltdown. As the argument reached its peak, security stepped in, but even they couldn't control the scene. Mendices was reportedly escorted off the set, still fuming and yelling, while Kirk Frost was left standing in the middle of the chaos, looking just as enraged. Yandy, visibly shaken, stood in the background, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Rashida, on the other hand, was seen storming off, muttering under her breath about how this was supposed to be a celebration, not a disaster. The aftermath was just as dramatic. As news of the fight began to spread, fans took to social media to voice their shock. "Did you guys see that fight on Love and Hip Hop? This is a whole new level," one user tweeted. Another added, "I thought the drama was scripted, but this is real." They really went at it. Rumors started circulating that this fight was the final straw for some of the cast members. Sources close to the production claimed that several people were talking about quitting the show for good. "I'm done with this toxic environment," one cast member allegedly said in a private conversation. The network, meanwhile, scrambled to manage the fallout. Some reports claimed that they tried to cover up the extent of the damage, but the truth was already out. Leaks started flooding the internet, with fans sharing behind-the-scenes footage of the destruction. The reunion special, which was supposed to air soon after the season finale, was put on hold. The producers, desperate to salvage what little was left of the season, began considering how they would handle the fallout in future episodes. Would they address the fight head-on, or would they sweep it under the rug? As for the cast, the situation was far from over. Mendices, Yandy, Kirk, Rashida, and the others were left to pick up the pieces of their broken relationships, both on and off camera. Some sources claimed that the tension between Mendices and Kirk was so high that they might not even be able to share a scene together in the future. Others said that Yandy was considering leaving the show to protect her family's reputation. "It's not worth it anymore," she was reportedly heard saying. The cast members weren't the only ones feeling the impact. The fans, too, were divided. Some were still loyal to the show, insisting that the drama was what made it so addictive. Others were disgusted by what had happened, calling for the network to cancel Love and Hip Hop once and for all. "This isn't entertainment anymore," one viewer commented. "It's just exploitation." As the final day of shooting came to a close, the question on everyone's mind was, what happens next? Would this catastrophic event be the end of Love and Hip Hop, or would it only push the show into even darker territory? One thing was certain, the drama was far from over. And as the cameras turned off and the set went quiet, the cast, the crew, and the fans were left waiting for the next shocking twist. As the cameras rolled, tension simmered between the cast members. The crew, used to the dramatic outbursts that had become synonymous with Love and Hip Hop, knew this was different. What had started as a simple disagreement had rapidly spiraled out of control, becoming the most intense conflict in the show's history. This time, it wasn't just about on-screen drama. This was personal. Kirk Frost, who had been at the center of the controversy from the start, was defiant. After his heated exchange with Mendices, he made it clear that he wasn't backing down. "I'm not afraid of anyone, and I'm sure not afraid of Mendices," he was heard saying, his voice rising with frustration. His arrogance was palpable, and it only seemed to make the situation worse. Those close to him noted that Kirk's behavior had become increasingly erratic in recent months. He wasn't just angry, he was lashing out, trying to assert dominance in a world that was beginning to feel more and more out of his control. Rashida, his wife, was caught in the middle. She had always been the calming influence in their marriage. But this time was different. The tension between Kirk and Mendices was beginning to tear apart her family. She had witnessed the turmoil firsthand and struggled with how to support her husband while also protecting her family's reputation. "I just don't know how to fix this anymore," she told a close friend, her voice filled with emotion. "I never wanted it to get this bad, but every day it seems like things are falling apart. But the cracks in Rashida's marriage were becoming more visible by the day. The once solid bond between her and Kirk was showing signs of strain. Behind closed doors, Rashida had begun to question whether staying in the marriage was worth it. She had always been the voice of reason in their relationship, but even she knew that some battles were too big to overcome. In the face of the chaos on set, she began to feel more and more isolated. Mendices, on the other hand, was less inclined to forgive or forget. "I'm done with this show and everything it stands for," he told a crew member during a break. "I came in here to show my family's journey, but all we've gotten is drama. This isn't real, and I can't be part of it anymore." His frustration boiled over, and his anger wasn't just directed at Kirk. It was at the entire production, at the system that had allowed things to escalate to such an extreme. Yandy, his wife, was caught in a tug of war. She had always supported Mendices through thick and thin, but the stress of the situation was starting to weigh on her. "This isn't what we signed up for," Yandy confided to a trusted friend. "Mendices is done. He's ready to walk away from everything, and I can't blame him. This isn't the kind of environment we want for our kids." Yet, Yandy couldn't ignore the reality of her career. She had built an empire with love and hip-hop, and leaving it behind was not a simple decision. The show, which had given her a platform to showcase her story, was now the very thing threatening to tear her family apart. She was faced with an impossible choice: stand by her husband and walk away from everything she had worked for, or stay on the show and risk losing her marriage in the process. "I don't know how we got here," Yandy said, her eyes filled with tears. "I thought we were building something beautiful. Now, I don't know if we're even going to make it through this." As the arguments raged on, the producers scrambled to contain the fallout. It was becoming clear that the situation was spiraling out of control, and the carefully curated image of love and hip-hop was beginning to unravel. "We need to get this under control," one producer was overheard saying. "We can't let this break the cast apart, not with the finale coming up. We need them to be a family, not enemies." But despite the attempts to mediate, the divisions within the cast were only growing deeper. Young Jock, always known for his sense of humor and lighthearted approach to life, was visibly shaken by the growing animosity on set. "This is not what I signed up for," he was heard saying in frustration. "We're supposed to be a team, a family, but it's like everyone's out for themselves now. I just want to get through this without all the fighting." Jock had always been the peacemaker on the show, but even he had his limits. As tensions mounted, he began to pull away from the drama, staying silent and avoiding the heated exchanges that had become commonplace. However, it wasn't just the cast that was affected. Fans who had once celebrated the ups and downs of their favorite stars were now expressing shock and disappointment. Social media exploded with reactions, with many calling for the show to be canceled altogether. "This is ridiculous," one fan tweeted. "I can't believe the drama these people are creating. This is not what we signed up for." Others were equally shocked by the fact that the show was so far removed from its original premise. "They've completely lost their way," another fan posted. "This isn't reality anymore. It's just a bunch of people pretending to be something they're not." The producers, in a last-ditch effort to salvage the show, brought in a mediator to try and resolve the issues between the cast members. The mediator's role was to facilitate a group meeting where everyone would have a chance to air their grievances and, hopefully, find some common ground. But as the meeting began, it quickly became clear that the wounds were far too deep to be healed with a simple conversation. "I've had enough of this," Kirk snapped, interrupting the mediator. "We're not here to fix things. We're here to set the record straight." His defiant attitude only added fuel to the fire, further escalating the conflict. As the meeting continued, more cast members spoke out, their frustrations pouring out in a torrent of emotions. "I don't care about the show anymore," one cast member said. "It's just a paycheck at this point. We're all being played, and I'm sick of it." The other cast members, once united by their shared experiences, were now speaking candidly about the toll the show had taken on their lives. "This show was supposed to be our ticket to something better," another cast member admitted. "But all we've gotten is drama, and we're all paying the price." At this point, the producers realized that they were facing a crisis. The show, which had once been a cultural phenomenon, was now teetering on the brink of collapse. The fractures in the cast were too deep, and it was becoming evident that some members might not return for another season. "We can't keep going like this," one producer confessed. "Something needs to change, and fast. Otherwise, this show is done." With the finale just days away, the cast was forced to face the reality that their futures were uncertain. Would they be able to work through their differences and continue the Love and Hip Hop saga? Or was this the end of an era? The fate of the show and the relationships that had been so central to its success hung in the balance. As the days continued to drag on, the emotional toll on the cast members became impossible to ignore. What had begun as a dramatic on-set dispute had now ballooned into a full-blown personal crisis, affecting everyone involved. The fallout from the explosive altercations was far-reaching, and no one, not even the producers, could predict what would happen next. Kirk Frost, ever the lightning rod for controversy, found himself at the center of the chaos. His earlier words, filled with defiance and anger, had struck a chord with many. "I'm not backing down from anyone, especially not Mendices," he had said more than once as tensions between the two men reached new heights. But as the days wore on, it became evident that Kirk's bravado was starting to crack. Deep down, he knew that he had crossed the line, and the fallout was far from over. Behind the scenes, Rashida was struggling to hold it all together. The wife and mother had always been the one to keep the peace, but even she couldn't deny the strain that this conflict had put on her family. "I don't know how much more I can take," Rashida confessed to a close friend as she paced back and forth in her dressing room. "Kirk is pushing everyone away, and I can't keep pretending like everything is okay." Her voice trembled, betraying the vulnerability that lay beneath her usually composed exterior. As Rashida dealt with the fallout from her marriage, Mendices and Yandy were having their own private reckoning. The couple had always been a fan favorite, their love story one of the more heartfelt arcs on the show. But now, things had reached a boiling point. Mendices, who had always been calm and collected, was visibly agitated. His frustration had been building for months, and it seemed that the time had finally come for him to speak out. "I didn't sign up for this," Mendices vented to Yandy one night after a particularly tense day of filming. "I came here to show the world our journey, not to be caught in this endless cycle of drama. The lies, the manipulations, it's all too much." Yandy, who had always been the supportive partner, tried to calm him down. "We've been through worse, babe," she said softly. "We'll get through this like we always do." But even Yandy, who had seen Mendices through his darkest moments, was beginning to question their future on the show. "I can't keep pretending like everything is fine," she admitted to a close friend. "Mendices is done with this, and I don't blame him. This isn't the life we envisioned for our family." The cameras had captured countless moments of raw emotion over the years, but nothing could prepare the viewers for what was coming next. With each passing day, the conflict deepened, and no one, not even the show's producers, could keep the drama contained. What was meant to be a simple reality show had turned into a high-stakes game, with reputations, relationships, and futures on the line. As the drama continued to unfold, the rest of the cast watched in disbelief. Young Jock, known for his easygoing nature and humor, was stunned by the level of animosity that had taken over the set. "I never thought it would come to this," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "We're all supposed to be a family, but it feels like everyone's turning on each other." Jock had always been the glue that kept the group together, but even he knew that the situation had gone too far. The producers, who had prided themselves on creating the drama that fans craved, were now struggling to regain control. "We can't keep pushing these people to their breaking point," one producer said, speaking to a group of colleagues. "We need to figure out a way to mend the rifts, or this show is going to collapse." The producers were facing a dilemma. The drama was what had made Love and Hip Hop so popular, but the personal toll it was taking on the cast was undeniable. The question now was whether the show could continue, or if it was too late to repair the damage that had been done. Despite the attempts to mediate, the situation continued to deteriorate. The cast members, once united by their shared experiences, were now divided by a deep-seated animosity that no one seemed able to shake. "This isn't fun anymore," one cast member confessed to a crew member during a break. "We're all just going through the motions, but no one really cares about each other anymore." The once close-knit group had been shattered, and the cracks were only growing wider with each passing day. As tensions mounted, Kirk's behavior became even more erratic. His defiance toward MenVCs had only served to fuel the flames of the conflict, and it was beginning to show in his actions. "I'm not going to let anyone tell me what to do," Kirk shouted at one point, his face red with anger. "I'm not backing down from anyone, not even MenVCs." His words echoed through the set, sending a wave of unease among the cast and crew. It was clear that Kirk wasn't just angry, he was unraveling, and no one knew how to stop it. Meanwhile, Rashida was faced with an impossible decision. Should she continue to stand by her husband, or was it time to walk away? The decision was weighing heavily on her, and she had no clear answers. "I don't know what's going to happen next," she said quietly, "but I can't keep living like this. I need peace." Her emotional turmoil was evident, and it seemed like no one could offer her the reassurance she desperately needed. Yandy, too, was at a crossroads. She had always been the steadying influence in MenVC's life, but even she was beginning to question how much longer they could continue down this path. "I don't know what's worse," she said to herself, sitting alone in her dressing room, "the drama of the show or the impact it's having on our family." The weight of the decision ahead of her was overwhelming, and it was clear that whatever choice she made, it would have a lasting effect on her marriage, her career, and her future. The cast members weren't the only ones feeling the strain. The fans who had supported the show for years were beginning to express their concerns. Social media was flooded with comments from viewers who were shocked by the escalating drama. "This is too much," one fan tweeted. "They're tearing each other apart for a paycheck, and it's sad to watch." Others were quick to express their disappointment in how the show had changed over the years. "This isn't the Love and Hip Hop I used to watch," another fan commented. "It's just a mess now." With the finale drawing closer, the producers scrambled to figure out how to salvage the situation. Would they be able to repair the fractured relationships between the cast members, or was this the end of the line for Love and Hip Hop? The uncertainty hung in the air, and no one knew what the future held for the show or its stars. As the cast members prepared for the final filming day, the tension was palpable. It was unclear whether the cast would be able to come together one last time to make it through the finale, or if the fractures in their relationships would be too deep to overcome. The fate of the show and the future of the cast remained uncertain. Would they reconcile, or was this the end of Love and Hip Hop as everyone knew it? As the final day of shooting approached, the tension on set reached an all-time high. The once tight-knit group of Love and Hip Hop cast members was now a fractured family, each individual grappling with their own emotions and conflicting loyalties. The fallout from the explosive arguments had left no one untouched, and it was becoming increasingly clear that the drama that unfolded on set would leave scars far beyond the cameras. Kirk Frost, who had been at the center of much of the chaos, seemed to be on the brink of a meltdown. His usually composed demeanor had been replaced with an air of volatility. With each passing hour, his outbursts grew more frequent, his temper shorter, and his defiance toward the producers and cast members more intense. "This whole situation is a joke," Kirk had muttered during one of his many heated conversations with crew members. "They want to paint me as the villain, but I'm just speaking the truth." His words, though confident, were laced with frustration and fear. It was clear to those around him that Kirk was struggling, and his internal battle had reached its boiling point. Despite his bravado, the cracks in his armor were widening, and there was no telling how far he would go before completely breaking down. He had been one of the show's most unpredictable figures, but now it seemed like his own emotions were spiraling out of control. Rashida, on the other hand, had reached a breaking point of her own. The emotional strain of the ongoing drama had taken a toll on her, and the final day of shooting loomed like a dark cloud hanging over her. "I don't know if I can do this anymore," she confessed to Yandy one evening, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's tearing me apart to watch Kirk act like this. I thought we were stronger than this." Yandy, ever the listener, nodded in understanding. "I get it, Rashida, but you've always been the strong one. You've got this." But even Yandy wasn't sure how much longer Rashida could hold it all together. The weight of being caught in the middle of her husband's implosion, while also dealing with the drama of the show, was taking its toll. It was clear that she was conflicted, torn between her loyalty to Kirk and her own well-being. Meanwhile, Mendices, who had stayed relatively quiet during the height of the drama, found himself caught in an emotional whirlwind. His frustration with the situation had been simmering beneath the surface, but as the final day of shooting approached, it was becoming harder to keep it in check. "I can't keep pretending like everything's fine," he told Yandy in a rare moment of vulnerability. "This is too much. I'm done with all this chaos. We didn't come here for this. I came here to focus on my family and my future, not to be dragged into this mess." Yandy, who had always supported Mendices through thick and thin, couldn't help but agree. "I hear you, babe, but let's just make it through the finale, and then we'll figure things out." But even Yandy knew that the damage had already been done. Their time on the show had been filled with drama, but now, with the final moments of shooting upon them, it was clear that their relationship with the show, and perhaps with each other, might never be the same again. As the cast prepared for what was supposed to be a celebratory final day, the mood on set was far from festive. The producers, who had worked tirelessly to keep the drama flowing throughout the season, were now faced with a much larger challenge: how to handle a situation that had escalated far beyond their control. "We've never seen anything like this before," one producer said to another, her voice tinged with concern. "This is bigger than just reality TV. This is real-life fallout, and we can't predict how it's going to play out." The uncertainty was palpable. The once tightly controlled environment of the set was now a pressure cooker, with every interaction loaded with tension. The crew, who had been used to the constant ebb and flow of reality show drama, were now walking on eggshells. No one knew if the final day of shooting would end in a dramatic resolution, or if it would be the catalyst for even greater fallout. Young Jock, always the joker and peacemaker, tried to lighten the mood, but even his signature sense of humor couldn't cut through the palpable tension. "Man, this is getting out of hand," he said to a fellow cast member as they prepared for the final shoot. "I don't know what's gonna happen, but I hope we make it through this without another fight. My heart can't take much more of this." His lighthearted attempt to ease the situation only highlighted the deep rift that had formed among the cast. As the cameras rolled, the cast gathered for the final scene of the season. The tension in the air was thick, and the producers held their breath, hoping for a smooth wrap-up. But what they didn't anticipate was the eruption that followed. Kirk, who had been unusually quiet throughout the day, suddenly snapped. "I'm done pretending," he shouted, his voice echoing through the set. "This is all a game, and I'm not playing anymore." His words were charged with anger, but underneath it all, there was an unmistakable sense of hurt. Kirk had spent years trying to navigate the pressures of fame, but it seemed that the weight of it all had finally broken him. Rashida, visibly shaken by his outburst, tried to intervene. "Kirk, stop. This isn't the time for this," she pleaded, but her voice wavered with emotion. "Please don't do this now. Let's just finish this and go home." But Kirk wasn't having it. "I've had enough," he declared, turning toward the crew. "You want drama? I'll give you drama. But don't expect me to be anyone's puppet anymore." The room fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. The cameras were rolling, capturing every moment, but what they didn't capture was the brokenness in Kirk's eyes. The man who had been so confident just days before now seemed like a shell of his former self. The weight of the show, the conflicts with Mendices, and the unraveling of his marriage were too much for him to handle. Mendices, who had been standing off to the side, watching the scene unfold, stepped forward. "Kirk, man, I get it," he said, his voice surprisingly calm. "But this isn't the way to handle it. We're all dealing with our own stuff. You don't have to do this alone." But Kirk, in a final act of defiance, refused to back down. "I'm done with all of you," he spat, storming off set. "I don't need this show, and I don't need any of you." And with that, the final day of shooting ended in chaos. The producers quickly cut the cameras, unsure of how to salvage the situation. The cast, once a family united by their shared experiences, was now divided, and the future of Love and Hip Hop seemed more uncertain than ever before. As the cast members left the set, their faces were a mix of anger, sadness, and exhaustion. The show that had made them famous was now a distant memory, and the relationships that had been built on it were left in ruins. No one knew what the future held, but one thing was certain: the Love and Hip Hop cast would never be the same again. And there you have it, Love and Hip Hop's most chaotic day of shooting yet, with explosive confrontations, betrayals, and an emotional roller coaster that has left everyone shocked and divided. The future of the show is now uncertain, and the question on everyone's mind is, where do these stars go from here? Is this the end of the road for Kirk, Rashida, Mendeecees, and the rest of the crew? Or is there more drama on the horizon? Now we want to hear from you. What do you think about the final day of filming? Was Kirk right to walk off set, or should he have handled things differently? Do you think Mendeecees and Yandy can survive this chaos, or is their relationship on the rocks? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button if you think this was one of the most dramatic episodes in Love and Hip Hop history. Subscribe to stay updated on all the latest gossip and behind-the-scenes drama, because we've got more shocking updates coming your way. You won't want to miss what's next in this roller coaster of emotions. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next video.